This morning, disturbing new details coming from a months-long CBC News investigation into the cost of police misconduct, tracking police officers in Ontario who are suspended with pay. Our senior data journalist Valérie Ouellet is with me this morning. She's been finding that many of the officers suspended faced allegations of gender-based violence. This is quite a headline, Valérie. What have you found?
Well, this data was compiled by my Ottawa colleague, Julie Ireton, and she looked for months into 450 suspensions with pay concerning 438 police officers. And this is specifically in Ontario because we, until this month, were the only province where all officers who were suspended had to be paid at their full salary, regardless of the severity of the allegations made against them or the length of time that they were suspended. And so sometimes, I was here a couple weeks ago to tell you that it costs millions to taxpayers every year, and that officers can be suspended for sometimes years. But we dug a little bit more into the data to really understand why these suspensions happened in the first place. And here's how the data breaks down. So as you can see here, there's one trend that is really eye-popping, and it's the fact that gender-based violence is really standing out in the allegations. 1 in 3 of these suspensions tracked by CBC involve gender-based violence. You can also see that there's a lot of other types of allegations that can include assault or other allegations linked, for example, to the use of a firearm. And here's what we mean by gender-based violence. So sexual assault and intimate partner violence. That means that a lot of these allegations of abuse are made by people who are married in common law relationships or dating a police officer. And then here's what happens when these suspensions are over, when they end. So you could see that 4 officers who were convicted, so found guilty of gender-based violence related offenses, they will come back to work. 1 in 4, 1 in 3 will end up resigning, 1 in 10 will end up retiring. And we also put information here so you can compare with what happens for other crimes.
Okay. Pretty interesting, to say the least, in terms of what the data has revealed yet again. And as you put this forward, bring it to the public knowledge, any reaction to what you've discovered?
Well, of course, we shared this data with a number of researchers, and they're telling us this is really just a tip of the iceberg. And that's because gender-based violence is typically wildly underreported. But also, they say, because research says and shows that police officers are more likely to be perpetrators of domestic violence. We also showed these figures to the director of a shelter, and here's what she had to say.
People who work in the system and are familiar with the laws around partner assault and harassment and those sorts of things, they know the boundaries, they know what they can get away with, plus they have relationships in their places of work that can help protect them from their actions. And also they have access to guns. And we know that just having access to a gun is a risk factor in terms of further violence or even femicide.
And she says that every year her shelter helps victims, survivors fleeing partners who are police officers, and that some of them are even police officers themselves. She says that those are often the most frightening and most difficult cases that crisis counselors have to deal with. And finally, I want to tell you, the Association of Chiefs of Police said that these statistics are disheartening for sure, but they also highlighted that the majority of these allegations are part of the private lives of officers because they happened off duty.
Okay. Valérie, thank you so much. Coming in with the latest investigation from our data unit, and you can read more about it online this morning. There you see it, the article that is up on our website with the stories of women who survived domestic abuse by a police partner, the blue wall of silence that often protects those officers. There's more up on CBC's website and also on the CBC News app.